Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Ben.
So today we're going to go on a visit to a bread shop. Before we start that, have you ever tried like baking your own bread or anything like that?
You know what, since I've been in Taiwan, there are so many good bakeries that
Right?
I do not actually bake myself. Even in the States, I'm a little bit lazy. I wish I could have baked, but I am probably too lazy. I just enjoy going to bakeries and sampling what baked goods they have. Yeah,
a lot of good stuff here.
What about you, Pat? Have you baked it?
I did used to. My mum always baked homemade bread when I was a kid. She didn't like going to buy like store bread. We always had our own. Now, a bit more in the last few years because my wife bought an oven.
Oh.
So we actually can bake something in it, but she only does bread sometimes. She prefers doing like cookies, sweeter treats, things like that. But so I don't know, maybe when our son is older and they can kind of do things together and they'll have a lot of fun in the same way that I did when I was younger.
That was a good family thing to cook together, bake some cookies together. Or bake. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's see what happens in today's article. It's also between a mother and, in this case, her daughter. They're at the bakery. Let's read what happens.
Reading.
Visiting the bakery. Emma is visiting the local bakery with her mom.
I love the smell of freshly baked bread.
Help me pick out some bread while you're taking it in.
The bread here looks different from the bread we normally get.
This bakery has a wider variety. What's more, the bread here is a lot healthier than white bread. Most of it is made with whole grains.
It still smells marvelous. What kind of bread is this?
That's made from a cereal called rye. It's hard on the outside, but quite moist on the inside.
Can we get some with cheese baked into it?
Of course. Many of the different types of bread here have different fruits and nuts inside. Look, this one has walnuts and raisins.
Has this bread gone bad? It's black.
That's a special kind of bread from Germany called pumpernickel. It has a slightly sweet flavor.
Excuse me, would you like to try some? We have some samples here.
Emma and her mom go to try some samples.
Okay, so the article begins with a description of where we are or what's going on. We see that Emma is visiting the local bakery with her mom. Now, when we use the word local, we mean close to where a person lives, usually in or near that person's neighborhood. We can also use local to describe something that comes from either that city or that general area. We could talk about local foods, local shops, all sorts of things like that. Here's an example sentence. The local library had to close down because people stopped going there to borrow books.
Oh, yeah. So what would be some local foods that you like?
Local foods in Taiwan. I do like scallion pancakes, the tong yo bing. I really like the shrimp on the pineapple pieces, the fong li xia chou. They're really good. How about you?
There's so many local foods here, but I like those custard buns. Really a lot of bakery goods too, and there's too much really. There's too much. I can't even name them all.
We'd run out of time.
But anyway, back to the article. Emma says, I love the smell of freshly baked bread. That is a good smell coming right out of the oven.
Okay, Emma's mom then says, help me pick out some bread while you're taking it in. So if you pick something out, you've got a wide selection in front of you and you're trying to choose one, two, or just a few things from that bigger selection. So there might be 20 breads, you can only have 2 or 3, so you have to pick out the ones you want.
Now we'll go to our phrase, to take something in. Now this means to enjoy the sights and sounds of an area. So usually it means to enjoy the time of where you are in the present. So for an example, let's take in the sight of the baseball game. The crowd is so loud as this is a really close game. It means to enjoy the moment.
Okay, so Emma is going to take in that lovely fresh smell and all the beautiful breads, the sights of all those breads. But as she's looking around, she says, the bread here looks different from the bread we normally get. So she's noticed something different.
Yeah, I wonder why. But anyway, the mom says this bakery has a wider variety. What's more, the bread here is a lot healthier than white bread.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that's good. So that brings us to white bread. Now that is bread that is light in color. It's made with flour that has been through a refining process. So it takes away a lot of the nutrients and it's normally not as healthy as other kinds of bread. Yeah, anyway, what's more, this is a phrase that means something more than expected. It's an added addition. So for example, the clothes were already cheap. What's more, they are 50% off now.
Great, so they're even cheaper.
Yeah.
So Mom is talking about white bread, but this is different. She says most of it is made with whole grains. Okay, as Ben just mentioned, the flour for white bread, they take out a lot of the sort of thicker bits, the outside of the grains. These grains are whole, and grains are the seeds of plants. We usually think of things like wheat, corn, rice, those kinds of things, and you use them to make food. You can kind of crush them up. Some grains, if they're cooked, you can just even eat them by themselves.
Yeah.
So these whole grain breads are using all the parts of the grain, all the seeds, and that keeps, as Ben said, a lot of the nutrients. So those kinds of breads, the browner colored ones, are usually a bit healthier.
Yeah, grains are good, much healthier. But anyway, for the article, Emma says, it still smells marvelous. Now, that brings us to marvelous, which means extremely good or pleasing. So for example, the basketball player did a marvelous job as he led the game in scoring. Just means doing a really good job in something.
Yep. So she's loving the smell, and then she's looking around, she finds one and says, what kind of bread is this?
I wonder. Anyway, Mom says that's made from a cereal called rye. It's hard on the outside, but quite moist on the inside. Now, cereal is a plant, such as grass that produces grain that can be eaten.
So what are we, some cereals? Again, we mean the same
Yeah.
things, don't we, as
Yeah.
grains? We're like barley, wheat,
Yeah.
rye, which is our example here, rice, corn, those things.
Exactly. And a rye, which means the type of grass that is grown as a grain and used to make flour or whiskey.
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of grains. Rye is just one of them.
Yeah. This brings us to our next word, moist, which means slightly wet. For example, the cookies are so moist that you can see the chocolate is still melting. So it's kind of like watery. And also this can be for food or for clothing, such as the clothing can be a little moist. When you hang it, it's still a little wet. It's not completely dry. And for food, for example, when you see cake, it's still a little fluffy. It's not too hard. It's still a little wet and soft. So that is moist.
Yeah, so if you think about, you kind of want a cookie to be a little moist, right?
Yeah, a little more fresh.
Yeah,
not as hard. Yeah,
exactly.
right out of the oven.
They kind of make you, that means you can chew them a little bit, whereas if they're hard, they'll just kind of break and you'll have to kind of crunch them up
Cracks
in your mouth.
easily, yeah. It can
Yeah.
just watery, melts in your mouth.
Exactly. Whereas, again, it's the same with a cake. You want that in the middle, you want it kind of a little bit hard on the outside, but still a little bit softer on the inside.
Exactly.
Just like any good cake and bread.
Moist cake.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get back to the article. Emma is still looking at all of these different breads. They've talked about the rye bread. She now asks, can we get some with cheese baked into it? So when we think about bread, you often just think of a simple, like a loaf of bread, where it's just a square shape cut into pieces. But a lot of the breads, especially the ones here, they've got all kinds of extra ingredients that have been included in it. Cheese is one of the examples. I do like bread with cheese in it.
Yeah, there's cheese. I like cheese too. That's one of my favorites. But I just want to say there's custard and there's like taro. There's a lot of these different flavors. Pudding.
Yeah,
so many
I do
varieties.
like taro or uto in the bread. That is really delicious. So Emma wants stuff with cheese in. What does Mum say about that?
So anyway, Mom says, of course, many of the different types of bread here have different fruits and nuts inside. Makes it a little bit healthier.
Yep.
But let's explain what a nut is. So a nut is also a fruit.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those weird things because you think they're very different. A nut, but a banana and an actual like a walnut
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something
They're
like
the
that.
same, but yeah, it's kind of hard to grasp. But anyway, these nuts have a hard shell around them and can be eaten. Now, there's a lot of nuts out there, like walnuts, peanuts,
almonds,
almonds,
cashews.
Yeah, you can go to 7-Eleven, buy some nuts. There's a lot of nuts to purchase. But anyway, for an example, we had to crack open the nut before biting hard into it. Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to get different nuts and these things in bread because you kind of mix them in with the flour and the water and the other stuff. And as the bread raises, it kind of takes these ingredients inside and makes the bread, it could be sweeter and, as Ben said, often healthier. So Mum is talking about some of these breads. They've got fruits, they've got nuts. And then she goes, look, this one has walnuts and raisins. So she's mentioned an example of a nut there, a walnut. A walnut is a type of nut with a slightly bitter taste, and it's kind of folded. It sort of looks, I always think of it as looking like a bit of either a brain or like a chewed piece of chewing gum. It's got those kind of like folds in it. The other thing about a walnut, it has a hard outer shell. Okay, and you always have to crack that shell off or break it somehow to get at the bit you can eat inside. You don't eat the shell. Walnuts grow on trees, so we can also use the word walnut to talk about the tree that produces them or the wood that comes from that tree. Okay, so that was one of the things in these bread. The second thing in this piece of bread is a raisin. Let's explain that now. So Emma's mum talked about the breads having nuts, which we've talked about, and fruits in them, and a raisin is an example of a fruit. A raisin is actually a dried grape. So you take the grape and you either squeeze or otherwise dry it to make a dry, chewier little fruit snack. For example, we can say raisins make a good snack and can also be used in baking and cooking. Most raisins are kind of the dark ones made from red grapes, but you can get raisins made from white grapes as well. So I just mentioned you can use some raisins in cooking. Yeah, we can think of a few examples. Like Christmas pudding, Christmas cake has a lot of raisins in it. Special cakes that are made around Christmas often have chewy bits of fruit and other things in it. I know for a fact that a few Indian dishes include raisins. So it's kind of like a sweet and a chewy piece in like an Indian curry to just give different flavors and different textures or feelings for when you eat it.
Yeah, and one of my favorite foods is raisin bread, which I used to eat in the United States a lot. We have bread pudding, which has a lot of raisins in it. So
awesome.
It's like a little topping to put inside.
Yeah, like you can get them in cookies as well. A lot of cookies and cupcakes have that kind of thing in. Okay, so they're looking at those kind of breads. What else are they going to come up with?
Yeah, so anyway, Emma says, has this bread gone bad? It's black.
It's black?
Oh, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, normally we don't want food to have kind of gone black.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems black kind of gives the impression that it's burnt or it's
gone really bad and moldy.
Yeah.
What do we mean by go bad?
Yeah, so to go bad means to no longer be fresh enough to eat or drink. Like bananas when they go black, go
black
bad.
And brown. Yeah, we don't want to eat those. Yeah, we often think of fruit that gets kind of black spots on it, and then we don't want to start eating it. Okay, so yeah, go bad, just if you think of milk goes bad, you can smell it, it doesn't smell good. All kinds of food will go bad if you don't take care of it, and then you definitely don't want to eat it. But has this bread gone bad? Apparently not. Emma's mum says that's a special kind of bread from Germany called pumpernickel. Okay? It's all one word that. You'll see it in our article. It's quite a long word. It's a German word. That's the name of the bread. Emma's mum also adds it has a slightly sweet flavor. So we mentioned pumpernickel. It's dark. It's dense. Dense means it's kind of heavy. It's quite thick bread. And it's made from rye, that cereal we mentioned earlier, and it's made from whole rye, so we don't take off too many parts of the grain. And it's kind of smashed up, it's big pieces, not small pieces, when you smash it up to make the bread dough. Have you tried pumpernickel?
I've never heard of pumpernickel,
You've
but I
never?
want to try
Okay.
it now. It sounds very
I've
good.
had it a few times. You can get it in many places in Germany. I've only been to Germany a couple of times, but I have tried it. I think you can get it, do you know the Mr. Mark bakery?
Yes, I could see that they would have that then, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a European and German style bakery, so they do have pumpernickel. It's often sold in little kind of flat squares, so it almost looks more like a cake than a piece of bread. Now, Emma's mum says it's slightly sweet. Slightly is an adverb that means it's a little of something, but not a great deal. Like Ben's word moist that he explained earlier. Moist is slightly wet, not very wet. And pumpernickel is slightly sweet, but not really sweet like a cake or a cookie or something like that.
Exactly.
So they're looking at this black bread.
Yeah, so anyway, the baker says, "Excuse me, would you like to try some? We have some samples here." Now, a sample means to have a try of something. They usually come in a smaller size to taste. So for example, when we go to the grocery store, normally you see little cups of, it could be a juice or some
tea
food.
or something like that.
Just be cut up and have a little piece or something. So a bakery too, so you can try something.
They often have a little basket next to the counter where you pay with a few samples in. You get like a toothpick and you stab them and you pick them up. So yeah. And if have you ever been to the Costco here?
Yes, yeah.
One of the best parts about going to Costco is going to see who's got all the free samples.
Yes.
And then, okay, I'll have a bit of coffee there. I'll have some bit of cake there.
Yeah.
I'll try their tea. Sometimes there's even somebody serving a little bit of wine or beer for you to try. So yeah, that's a good fun part about going to Costco. The samples.
Oh yes, my favorite sample is pineapple cake. There's too many samples.
Yep.
But anyway, for an example sentence for sample could be like, do you have a sample of your orange juice? I would like to see how it tastes.
Yeah, there are some places where, like, if you get ice cream,
Yeah.
like they will always say, do you want to try this flavor? And they give you a tiny spoon and you can just sort of see, do I like it? What do I think? That would be getting a sample.
Yeah.
Okay, this part of the article is now going to finish. We see in the description that Emma and her mum go to try some samples. They're going to walk up to the counter, see what the baker has, try a few things, and that will help them make a decision about which bread they buy. Now, we'll come back tomorrow to see what they're going to get and a few other things that they do. They're going to talk to the baker about how to keep their bread fresh as well. But right now, we're going to go to our For You chat question.
For You chat.
So today's chat question is, what kinds of bread do you like? We've mentioned a few kinds, but maybe we've got some more.
Yeah.
So what would you say, your favorite kinds of bread?
I have to say Taiwan has some of my favorite breads. And I like how there's a different variety of breads too. There's some really salty breads or some sweet breads like pork floss bread, which I really like, or custard bread, taro bread. Yeah, I like the different, either really sweet or really salty kinds of breads here. Yeah.
Okay.
I think American breads are too plain, just
Really?
boring. Yeah, just white bread or wheat bread. There's no variety. It's all the same.
Yeah, I've probably bought bread once or twice in the States when I've visited there, but I can't really remember much. For me, and I have to say this, my mum's homemade bread is the best bread in the world. That would be my favorite kind of bread. I grew up eating it and nothing has quite compared to it. Maybe, I think she adds eggs in it and she adds like a bit of brown sugar, kind of black sugar liquid. So it makes, but it's moist on the inside, it's crunchy, got quite a hard crust, which is the outside of the bread. And so because of that, my favorite kinds of bread are brown breads, whole wheat breads, kind of whole grain breads, because that's what my mum made for us. She made the brown stuff. I do like the ones with cheese in as well. The ones with taro, with uto in, I'm a big fan of. But yeah, salty ones, not so much for me. All the ones that are really too sweet. I guess I probably like some of those that are more middle of the road. I think you like the two extremes.
Yeah, the extreme, different tastes.
Yeah. What would you put on? Like, if you just got like a loaf of bread, what do you put on it?
I always like to, for breakfast, I like to put peanut butter and jam on it. That used to be my favorite, just eating a peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Yeah, I do like peanut butter as well. It is great stuff. We've got another kind of spread in England called Marmite. Oh. It's black, it's really salty, and it's really delicious if you put it on toast with an egg. It's superb. Look it up. Okay, that is all we have time for in day 1, but we'll be back on day 2 to talk about what Emma and her mom buy at the bakery. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Visiting the bakery. Emma is visiting the local bakery with her mom.
I love the smell of freshly baked bread.
Help me pick out some bread while you're taking it in.
The bread here looks different from the bread we normally get.
This bakery has a wider variety. What's more, the bread here is a lot healthier than white bread. Most of it is made with whole grains.
It still smells marvelous. What kind of bread is this?
That's made from a cereal called rye. It's hard on the outside, but quite moist on the inside.
Can we get some with cheese baked into it?
Of course. Many of the different types of bread here have different fruits and nuts inside. Look, this one has walnuts and raisins.
Has this bread gone bad? It's black.
That's a special kind of bread from Germany called pumpernickel. It has a slightly sweet flavor.
Excuse me, would you like to try some? We have some samples here.
Emma and her mom go to try some samples.
Vocabulary Review.
Local. These pictures of the city's old buildings tell us a lot about our local history. Marvelous. Spring is a marvelous time to visit the Shinju countryside because lots of it is covered in white flowers. Moist. The morning dew made the grass moist and shiny in the sun. Nut. The squirrel ran with the nut between its teeth, stopped near the tree, and then buried it. Raisin. A small bag of raisins always makes a healthy snack when you're traveling. Sample. The shop gave away free samples of hand cream to people who passed by the store.
智慧小补帖
Slightly.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net